And so I think that we also want to touch on the Ruvolution. So what does Ruvolution mean to you, Kian?
Yeah, so Ruvolution is a term I kind of made up. It's essentially a combination of the words roux and revolution. Just
So you're
because,
actually the author of that term, right? I
yeah.
didn't know that, but
Oh, yeah, you didn't know that. Okay. Yeah. So I guess in 2017 or 2018 is when, I started breaking records and Roux started really blowing up. My YouTube channel was growing. A lot of cubers around the world are making a lot of contributions to the development of the method, to breaking records, getting faster. And we noticed this kind of like a bit of an uprising in the Roux community. And since this is a little bit funny, but since it kind of like got reinvigorated at World Championships in Paris, it kind of had a bit of like a French Revolution vibe to it. And then like Gilles Roux is French, who invented the method, and he was there. And then everything was just pointing towards a revolution per se of like overthrowing the CFOP hierarchy. And
yeah,
I just kind of started saying, "Oh yeah, guys, the Ruvolution is coming. Like all the records are going to be Roux in a couple of years." And then eventually later that year, I think I like made my YouTube banner like the Ruvolution is coming. And then I made a couple of videos. I think like I was keeping my one-handed solve secret. Then I said I like dropped a video 2 weeks before the competition, and then I said like the Ruvolution is coming, and it was like a sub 9 average of 10, 12 or something. I don't remember, but it kind of caught on from that point. And then every time someone new would pick up Roux, or people would just want to spread the message about the benefits of the Roux method, they ended up using that term. So I guess I'm really happy with how that caught on, but it's only grown since then. Even when I retired, it's great to see that there's so many more cubers around the world, in Asia, across South America, Europe. A lot of the fastest cubers in a lot of different communities are using the Roux method now, and they all embrace the whole Ruvolution word. So I think that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I know at Worlds 23, 2023 in Korea when I went, there were people that were handing out like Ruvolution leaflets.
Oh, no way. I didn't even know about that. Yeah.
So, like on every table, they were just handing them out to everyone.
That's huge. That's crazy to like think that I'm just some kid in Ottawa and I just like made up a word and then
and created a Ruvolution.
yeah, and then all of a sudden there's like people at World Championships in Korea handing out leaflets. It's just like such an honor to be a part of that, or at least a small part.
But I think one thing that I also want to know, do you think that now compared to, let's say 5 or 10 years ago, do you think that there is a higher proportion of people that use Roux compared to CFOP?
I definitely think there is. Yeah.
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 Yeah, go ahead.
I think back then it would have been maybe like one person at a competition.
Yeah.
Now I think it's like, depending on the size of the competition, it might be, 3 to 5 at a local competition. Yeah, so I think it's increased from probably below 5% to maybe closer to that 5 to 10%.
Okay.
I'm just guessing here, but that's kind of my sense of it.
I mean, it's also hard for you as well because you haven't been to many competitions lately, so it's hard to
yeah, it's hard to gauge, but I guess I went to like I went to one in 2022, one in 2023.
Yeah. And I know here, like, so for those who don't know, I live in China right now, and at competitions here, it's very, very rare to see Roux.
Mm-hmm.
So I only know of like 2 people who use Roux.
Yeah.
And so typically I'd say like at least 99% of people use CFOP.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's like a regional thing as well. Like, often I get like, because I've been learning Roux lately and practicing a little bit, and people have been asking me like, why are you using Roux? Like all the top solvers use CFOP. Clearly Roux is bad.
Yeah.
But what would you say to those people?
Yeah, so I'd say you definitely bring up a point in that maybe it's a regional bias. I think in Canada, there's a lot more Roux solvers. Even in the US, there's pretty big Roux communities in both countries. And that's where I've competed the most. And even at World Championships, obviously, there's a lot of like diverse nationalities showing up. But so maybe I'm high in my estimate. But especially in China, I think there might be like language barrier issues where they haven't had access to some of the Roux resources that are mostly in English. I know that a couple people have asked me over the years, whether it's from China or from India, whether they can like translate some of my videos and put like voiceovers over them in different languages, upload them on different sites or that sort of thing. And I've like heard about that over the years. So I think that's a great avenue. But yeah, I think like once people has started paying attention more to one-handed, and especially with Sean's recent world record and looking at just the top 20, people will see that it's I don't want to say majority Roux, but like pretty much half Roux at this point. I think it's pretty much half Roux in the top 20 of one-handed. So for one-handed, I think most people, especially when they hear that like a lot of the CFOP solvers are trying it out and a lot of the high level CFOP solvers are saying that Roux is better, the people are now catching on that, okay, like it's kind of the better method for one-handed. But for 3x3, I'd say they're still pretty close. I really just think that the reason the higher level people use CFOP is because those just happen to be the people who've put in the most hours of practice. I think if someone put the same amount of effort into Roux, it would be neck and neck. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, and the way that I see it as well is considering, let's say, 95% of people use CFOP and only 5% of the people use Roux. The fact that there's even one person in the top 10 that uses Roux already means that Roux is at least as good as CFOP, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or, like, statistically speaking, it's definitely not much worse in any case.
Yeah, that's probably what it is for 3x3, but then for one-handed,
for one-hand specifically,
it's just better.
Yeah, and that's very key because so much fewer people use Roux, but they're like dominating the top 10 for example. But I think that's also something that at least in China, not a lot of people like pay attention to one-handed. Yeah. Despite like, because in one-handed who is the national record holder in China? I know like Zhou might have the national. I think he might have 948. Yeah, and then there's also like at least one other.
Roux, so
using Roux, and then there's also at least Wen Tao but I mean Zhou is not in China, so they might not know him as much. Yeah. And then also Wen Tao, who's like also like low 10, who uses like maybe even sub 10. But I don't know.
I think the other bias is like China's done incredibly well in 3x3 in the past 5 years, so maybe that's why that event is valued more.
Yeah, and nobody like in the top, probably even top 50 uses Roux in China for one hand, for two hand. But yeah, so I think that's something that's interesting, and I think that the Ruvolution is still coming. Maybe a little bit slower than expected, but definitely
3x3 will take some years, but one-handed is definitely there now with the second world record.
Yeah, we have a lot of comments here, and people in chat saying like, what do you think are the limits for? Always those questions. What are the limits for like two-handed, one-hand? I know every year the limits keep getting updated and they keep going down.
Yeah, but even some of the earlier questions were asking like whether I can reflect on my Roux versus CFOP talk in 2018 that I did or that sort of thing. I honestly think I still stand by it. I think the way I analyzed it was pretty objective. I think I considered the different factors of efficiency, move count, ergonomics. And I still think they're pretty good estimates for both CFOP and Roux. Obviously, the biggest limitation is that it's not really accounting for improvements in efficiency in terms of like more block building in CFOP. I kind of gave estimates for that, but I don't think they were perfect. But I do think neck and neck, they can both be probably sub 5 global average on 3x3, probably low 7 global average one-handed. I think Roux can be low 7 global average one-handed. I think CFOP can be high 7, low 8. I don't think CFOP can be low 7 one-handed.
Yeah.
But I definitely think Roux can get to low 7.
So you think for two hands, it's like more or less neck and neck, one hand, Roux still has a bit of an advantage at least, right?
I would say so, yeah. I think whatever numbers I put together in 2018, I think I stand by those.
Okay. Do you have maybe we can find a link for that and we can put it in the description as well.
Yeah, I'll dig that up.